After Italy, Spain, and France, yet another NATO nation appears to have snubbed the United States, raising fresh questions about alliance unity during this escalating war. As the United States and Israel reportedly begin to run low on critical missile supplies, Donald Trump is now turning to NATO allies for urgent support. But has a NATO nation now bluntly rejected Trump's request to deploy Patriot air defense systems, signaling growing resistance within the alliance?
They range allies and others, and yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations. And the president's pointing out, you don't have much of an alliance if you have countries that are not willing to stand with you when you need them. He's simply pointing that out, and ultimately it'll be his decision of what that looks like after this is complete.
And with Washington deeply engaged in the Iran conflict, is Trump now willing to risk weakening NATO's eastern flank to sustain the war effort? Another NATO member has now declined participation in Donald Trump's military campaign against Iran, signaling growing divergence within the alliance. Poland has reportedly refused a request to relocate its Patriot air defense systems to the Gulf region amid escalating tensions. The Polish defense minister stated on March 31st that there are currently no plans under consideration to move these Patriot systems abroad. Poland emphasized that its Patriot batteries remain critical for safeguarding national airspace and reinforcing NATO's eastern defensive posture. Poland's defense minister said, and I quote, "Our Patriot batteries and their armaments are used to protect Polish airspace and NATO's eastern flank. Nothing is changing in this regard, and we have no plans to move them anywhere. Our allies are well aware of and understand the importance of our tasks here. Poland's security is an absolute priority." End quote. Reports indicate that the United States and its Gulf partners have expended more than 1,000 Patriot missiles within just 16 days of conflict. Poland's refusal follows indications that Washington had requested at least one Patriot system from Warsaw to support regional defense needs. According to Politico, US officials conveyed that air defense stockpiles positioned in the Middle East are currently under considerable strain. Beyond Poland, Washington is also believed to have approached multiple NATO allies for additional air defense deployments. A US ally, Italy, has reportedly denied landing permission to American military aircraft, underlining growing discomfort among Washington's partners as the Iran war continues to expand. According to the reports, the U.S. aircraft were denied permission to land at Sigonella Air Base in Sicily after seeking clearance before heading onward to the Middle East. The aircraft had reportedly requested landing permission as part of their route toward the Middle East, but Italy did not allow the stopover at the base. Reuters reported the permission snub, citing a source close to the matter, and the episode was seen as another sign of Allied caution over deeper involvement in the conflict. Italy has now joined a growing list of U.S. allies that appear to be keeping some distance from the war, even as pressure builds around Washington's next moves. Spain has closed its airspace to U.S. military aircraft involved in operations against Iran, implementing a comprehensive restriction on overflights supporting the ongoing conflict. This measure extends beyond Spain's prior refusal to grant U.S. forces access to military installations within its sovereign territory for logistical staging. The policy shift received initial coverage from El País, citing defense sources, preceding formal governmental acknowledgement of the airspace control determination.
As we've said from the beginning, we will not authorize the use of Moran and Rota for any acts related to the war in Iran. We have made this clear to the American government from the beginning. We don't authorize either the use of military bases or the use of airspace for actions related to the war in Iran.
Spain's strategic geographic placement positions it as a primary aerial corridor connecting North American bases with Middle Eastern operational theaters efficiently. U.S. military flights must now execute circuitous routing to circumvent Spanish airspace entirely when transiting toward regional deployment zones. Extended flight profiles consequently elevate fuel expenditures, extend mission timelines, and complicate operational scheduling across affected airlift formations. The prohibition reportedly excludes genuine emergency diversions, preserving limited operational flexibility for unanticipated in-flight contingencies. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has emerged among principal European critics of military engagements directed against Iran during the escalation phase. Sanchez characterized the conflict as strategically imprudent and legally questionable, calling upon the United States to adhere to prevailing international legal frameworks. First of all, as you know, we have denied the United States the use of the Rota and Moran bases for this illegal war. All flight plans that involved actions related to the operation in Iran were rejected, every single one of them, including those of refueling aircraft. It has not been easy, but I believe we have done so because this is allowed, among other things, by the bilateral agreement governing these bases, and because we are a sovereign country that does not wish to take part in illegal wars. President Trump previously indicated potential trade curtailments targeting Spain due to its non-participation in regional military support arrangements. Madrid demonstrates sustained commitment to autonomous policy formulation despite associated diplomatic frictions and prospective economic repercussions. The US president has publicly expressed dissatisfaction with NATO allies that have not supported operations against Iran. On March 31st, Donald Trump criticized both France and the United Kingdom through a post on Truth Social. He suggested that the United Kingdom should either source oil directly from the United States or assert control over the Strait of Hormuz. Trump also stated that allied nations may need to take greater responsibility for their own defense capabilities going forward. The US president said, and I quote, "All of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number 1, buy from the US, we have plenty, and number 2, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait, and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been, essentially, decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. President DJT." End quote. Trump also criticized France for declining to allow aircraft carrying military supplies to Israel to transit through its airspace. The US president said, and I quote, "The country of France wouldn't let planes headed to Israel, loaded up with military supplies, fly over French territory. France has been very unhelpful with respect to the butcher of Iran, who has been successfully eliminated. The USA will remember. President DJT." End quote. On March 31st, US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth also addressed what he described as a growing divergence between Washington and NATO partners. Hegseth stated that the final decision on whether the United States would extend support under collective defense arrangements would rest with President Trump.
And as far as NATO is concerned, that's a decision that will be left to the president. But I'll just say a lot has been laid bare. A lot has been shown to the world about what our allies would be willing to do for the United States of America when we undertake an effort of this scope on behalf of the free world. These are missiles that don't even range the United States of America. They range allies and others, and yet when we ask for additional assistance or simple access basing overflight, we get questions or roadblocks or hesitations. And the president's pointing out, you don't have much of an alliance if you have countries that are not willing to stand with you when you need them. He's simply pointing that out, and ultimately it'll be his decision of what that looks like after this is complete. And I think the president was clear this morning in his truth that there are countries around the world who ought to be prepared to step up on this critical waterway as well. It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most. So the world ought to pay attention and be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on. So on the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the vice president and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. If Iran was willing to relinquish material they have and ambitions they have, open this. Great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than we have to. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to ensure that we compel Iran to realize that this new regime, this regime in charge, is in a better place if they make that deal. And so we'll continue. We're working hand in hand, but the primary effort is a deal. We want that deal to be accomplished if at all possible. If not, then we're prepared to continue. Ultimately, I think the president's truth this morning lays that out very well, that this Strait of Hormuz issue, which we've set the conditions for success, and we will make sure Iran knows that very clearly, is not just a United States of America problem set. We've been willing to lead. President Trump's led the entire time, but it's not just us. So ultimately, I think other countries should pay attention when the president speaks. He's proven that when he speaks, he means something. And he's pointing out, you might want to start learning how to fight for yourself. It's something some of us have been saying for quite some time. You can't just have flags, you have to have formations. You can't just have a few ships, you have enough to affect change. Those things matter in a dangerous world with ascendant adversaries. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.